Hey, it's the Good Girls podcast, not the Worst Girls podcast, but definitely not as good as some of these good Christian mom influencers that we fell into a rabbit hole this week. We were each going to try to find the three.
Women or mom influencers who are their target is influencing other women who are most problematic, I
Yes.
suppose?
So I feel like we took through two different approaches to this. And Kay, your approach was looking up some of the biggest names out there with the most followers on YouTube. Mine was to create a new Instagram profile. And I started it out with a few search terms of accounts to follow and picked some accounts based off of search terms that were like just kind of stay-at-home mommy, home study, traditional femininity, or Jesus-centered marriage. I don't know exactly what I searched, but it was all kind of things like biblical womanhood and stay-at-home mom life and things like that, and saw what rabbit hole it took me
See,
down.
I think that was a smart move on your part because I tried to do it with my own Instagram, and I have to say that it leaned me towards, like.
Yours is tinged by smut.
Yeah, because
It's like,
mine is
cannot
tinged towards, like,
compute.
acceptance and smut and all these things. Like, the Christian influencers who I received were extremely open-minded, wonderful-seeming people that even though, they were probably more steeped in the church than I was like, "You seem too lovely to."
Yeah, you
Yeah.
definitely get a different thing. I think probably your algorithm was just short-circuiting because it's like, I don't know, she's into stuff about, like, nodding
She doesn't
Omegaverse.
actually want what she's typing in, therefore, I will give her the
They're
most,
like, "Here's
like.
a nice non-judgmental Christian who's, like, maybe a little homophobic but won't say it, and that's the worst it's gonna give you." To start off, one of the posts that I found, so basically my methodology was that I searched a few terms to begin with. I followed a few accounts that seemed to be posting stuff about biblical womanhood and trad wifey kind of things, and then started liking any of their posts that seemed a little bit unhinged to me. There were plenty of posts that were like, "Here's lesson plans ideas for your homeschool," and it's like that was boring. So I was liking the ones that was more like, "Here's why I make my own Cheez-Its from scratch at home because they're so much easier and cheaper than buying Cheez-Its from the store." And I was like, "That
Just
can't."
give up. Just make a different snack than Cheez-Its at this
No, I
point.
know, and I was like, "That can't possibly be true." Having one time as a fun activity with my niece tried to make Pop-Tarts from scratch, it is not easier, and also
You are no Taylor Swift.
my niece was so incredibly disappointed. I had this whole array of things that I was like, we have like all these different jams you could put in there. Do you want this jam? Do you want Nutella? Like, what do you want in your homemade Pop Tart? And she's just like, I don't think that you have the kind of Pop Tarts that I like. I'm like, what are the Pop Tarts that you like? She's like, they come in a blue box and my grandma has them. She was
Yeah, it's
like,
like, just drive
fuck,
over to Walmart.
fuck your Pop Tarts. Yeah, exactly. So I started kind of liking posts like that. I will say it does get pretty dark pretty quick. But a lot of it was more geared toward like this biblical womanhood, stay-at-home mom kind of thing. But a lot of it seemed to be based on the fact that it can't just be you do you and be happy doing you, and I'll do me and be happy doing me, and I'm happy in my lifestyle, which I recognize is also just a characteristic of social media. So maybe it's not exclusive to these homemaker kind of accounts. So they have to have a bunch of content and justify why their life is so magical and happy all the time. So I found one account that's called Vanessa Homemaking, and she had this post that was kind of like 11 things that I did when that 27-year-old me did that 82-year-old me is going to be so thankful that I did. So respecting and admiring my husband out loud, honor, build strong marriages. Treating homemaking like real work, this is shaping a legacy. Legacy is a word that I heard a ton of times that I'm so curious about where that popped up. Number 7, removing voices that mock biblical womanhood. Not everything deserves influence. So we are already deleted from her life, which reminds me of some of my fundamentalist Christian friends from high school back in the Bible Belt. And I definitely just got I wasn't even like posting anything about them or commenting on their profiles, but I definitely just got defriended by a bunch of them when I moved off and started doing feminist things. Yeah, goodbye. My question to you, Kay, because I will say a lot of this made me kind of a little bit bad about myself, and I recognize that. I'm like,
Well, you should feel bad about yourself when you hear about my list.
what would be some of your things on your list of things that 82-year-old you would be glad that 27-year-old you had prioritized?
I don't know if prioritized is the right word.
Had done
I
in a night of drunken revelry.
I'm so happy that I had time to date around, and I think that your natural there is some inclination, I know in me and in other people, like, must find my husband and want to know that I'm not gonna be alone for the rest of my life, but I'm so glad that I didn't find my husband until I was, like, 28 or so, because I had so much fun dating. So I guess 82-year-old me is gonna be happy that I did
That Kay slutted it up.
I slutted it up for a little bit, and, maybe I could have found Mr. K, like, 5 years later, and that would have been even better, I don't know. I am happy that I found him, but I could have used a few more years, I think.
Yeah, of just the fun and also
I think
going
you in your prime should be, enjoying
just a
that to
wild
its
stallion
fullest.
out there.
Yeah, the second that you have, kids and you're all ruined and you lose your sparkle, then you're good for marriage.
I do feel like I'm glad that I was married by the time I was 27, but I am glad that I didn't have kids because I just think of all the things that are so hard to do now. And I would have not done them because, and I don't know like exactly what my life would have been like. I mean, I'm sure that there are also advantages to having kids on the younger side, and then they're out of the house, and you have an earlier empty nest period of your life, which sounds lovely. But I do know that there's a lot of data about the later that women wait to begin having children, the less that their income over their life is impacted by the choice to have children. And also, I just think having fun, traveling, exploring myself, getting to take a job that was really incompatible with having kids or really difficult to do with having kids.
Or even just making selfish decisions. But how proud I was of myself at 27 made me think of one of the main accounts that I looked into and was troubled by. Just Pearly Things Official. She has 67K followers on Instagram, rounding up a bit, and 1.6 million subscribers on YouTube, who I
Oof.
worry about every single one of them. The
Yeah.
byline is if you're talking about whores, simps, and half-naked female, quote, unquote, "conservative influencers." So she is an influencer who was
Okay.
raised Christian, and she is conservative. She is not saying that against female conservative influencers. She thinks that if you dress half naked, that you shouldn't be considered a conservative influencer.
Oh, doesn't that eliminate a lot of the hot girls that are
Yeah, she's
hot
not
girls
about the hot
for Trump?
girls.
Yeah.
She is very big on, like, we want equality, but then we also wanna get paid in divorce. She really does not like alimony or child support. She's really big on divorce laws need to be reconfigured. She thinks that WNBA players deserve to be paid less, not more.
That's a hot take.
So she talks about how men don't like whores is something that she heard, but whores don't really seem to have any deterrent to getting men if they're hot enough. For example, Megan Thee Stallion dating Klay Thompson is an example of men not valuing purity like they used to.
Mhm.
Especially men who have slept around a lot. I really, really love that because she directly says that in a non-ironic way. Like, men who have slept around a lot, they are not whores themselves. They just don't find it a deterrent
Oh, man,
that
this
the
sounds like
woman
my high
themselves
school
is.
experience all over again.
She said that men don't seem to get what they want out of purity anymore. Now virgins are all naggy and awkward and bitchy. So of course men don't want the virgins who are awkward and bitchy.
So I am so confused. What is it that she wants you to be as a woman? Like, is she, so you can't be a whore, you can't be a gold digger, you can't be an awkward virgin. What is she proposing?
She wishes that men did still want purity and non whores, but she understands why men are still going for whores because virgins that she knows are not nice, kind of bitchy, and awkward. And so men aren't getting something out of that. She said the
Oh,
most
what is her
attractive
deal?
women
Is she married? Is that why
she's
she's allowed
single,
to?
and the men on her Instagram are very supportive, like, "Pearly, we hope that you find somebody. I want a pure woman," though she is not a virgin.
Oh,
Yeah, she said, "Men get to the point. That virgin is bitchy and annoying. That whore is also annoying, but she's hot. So whatever, I'll take the whore, and maybe she'll cheat on me, but I'll deal with that when it happens."
okay.
Yeah, this is how she talks.
I'm so confused by I feel like she's just like, whatever choices I make in life are the right choices that other people should make, and whatever choices men make are fine because boys will be boys.
She is worth watching a video of because I don't think that
Okay.
she is faking or putting on an act. But she is I think it's okay to use this, so I try not to use mean words towards people. She is repulsive in her views and in how she explains them.
I would say so.
Because just using the word "whore" Sims, she's so insulting and saying things like, "Oh, the men who sleep around a lot don't mind it when a woman is a whore." It's like, wait, I'm so confused. Shouldn't they, of course, not hold women to a standard that they are not holding themselves to? If you can even call it a standard.
Is is she basically like a female version of an incel? Is this what it
She is a
is?
female version of an incel.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
she's very is it like ta is it take the red pill or take the blue pill? I always
Yeah.
get confused. It's probably take the red pill because men don't wanna say that they're taking a blue pill.
Yeah, I think that yeah, exactly. I try never to watch the Manosphere guys, but something like that. And I think it's just the fact that she's sitting up here just dunking on women and being terrible and talking about how women are supposed to be with other men. And then, also, I think just because it's surprising because the usual aesthetic of, like, women talking about femininity on what is kind of a I don't know, this is more of an alt-right kind of thing, but on anything right of center, they tend to be ultra feminine presenting, with, like, the makeup done, that kind of, like,
No, she
1950s
is
aesthetic.
definitely presenting herself as, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's, like, kinda got this grungy incel aesthetic anyway. Okay, very interesting, never heard of her. This is kind of like anytime I dip my toes into the manosphere, I'm just like, "Ick, I need to go take a shower."
To say the word horror so casually, I don't know. It's like, what why bring such ugly language into your speech?
This is, again, when I feel like I really understand the women who get into doing, like, slut walks and all those things about, like, reclaiming different words that have been used in a derogatory way against women, and I feel like I wanna go join a slut walk after my brief foray into listening to just pearly things.
Allie B. Stuckey was another one that I looked at. 911,000 followers on Instagram. She is apparently 2 years younger than me, but I have to say that she's one of those people that whatever work she's had done or whatever her aesthetic is, she looks and acts like she's in her 50s. And kind of relevant to our episode last week, she pointed to things like Wuthering Heights as an example of why we can't tell women not to settle while we're glamorizing chaos and calling it passion. How Wuthering Heights has had a bad impact on women because they look for a guy who's possessive, aggressive, and cuts out their friends. And it's like, I don't think anybody is watching Wuthering Heights or reading these books and being like,
I want
yeah,
that.
I want some huge guy who's like toxic and possessive. That's like saying that men are watching Laura Croft and being like, "Yeah, I want a hot Tomb Raider."
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this gets into the whole thing of like, let us just enjoy our silliness and our fantasy and our gothic romance. And I think that you can read about something and not want it.
Like, yeah, I don't want a guy who has 8 piercings on his penis. I don't think that guy
But
wants
will I
me
watch
either.
his porno?
Yeah,
Yes,
but
I
I'm
will.
totally interested to hear how sex with him went.
This one looks like she could be in the Trump administration. Allie B. Stuckey. I just
I'm sure
Googled
she will.
pictures
She'll
of her.
probably be our next, like, head of defense, like
Yeah, exactly. After Pete Hegseth drinks himself into a stupor, then she's probably just, "Oh, is she the toxic empathy person?"
Yes, she read the book about, toxic empathy.
Bleh.
So, for those of you who don't know, in Toxic Empathy, Ally Beth Stuckey argues that empathy has become a tool of manipulation by left wing activists who bully people into believing that they must adopt progressive positions to be loving. And by
Aw.
progressive positions,
What a satanic point of
we
view.
mean like being okay with pro-choice, with gay people having sex, with not putting child immigrants in cages, just those types of things. Catchy mantras present our perspective as empathetic, such as abortion is healthcare, love is love, and no human being is illegal.
I, like, agree with all of those things, and I'm sitting here critically
That's just
thinking about
because you're
all of
being,
them.
like, manipulated by left-wing activists.
I know, like,
Maybe you are a left-wing activist.
maybe I'm manipulating you
You will
into
not manipulate me. Abortion is
having
not
one of those little
healthcare.
signs in front of your house that liberal white ladies love to have. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just this it's nice front for, dehumanizing other people. She is a conservative Christian, by the way, so she does, name herself as
But
a
is she
Christian.
quote unquote conservative? Like Pearly would say, she half dressed, skank.
I don't know, all of these pictures of her, she seems like she is dressed very much like a conservative wife where she's wearing, like, red, but, things with sleeves. Oh, well, here she's wearing a red
Red
tank
things
top.
with sleeves. I love
I'm
how
just
red things with sleeves.
I mean, that is what I expect a conservative wife to be wearing. She has kind of a cute oversized blazer in this picture. I mean, she doesn't have total Mar-a-Lago face yet, so I assume that phase of her life is coming. I do not know what she looked like before, but she is published by Glenn Beck's, media company, Blaze Media,
But Glenn
so,
Beck is great.
according to my parents, yes.
Roma Army, Chloe Sunderland, 1.7 million YouTube subscribers, very big on men's rights. Her whole shtick is that she takes different women, Instagram videos, TikTok videos that they're not feminist in the sense that they're like proudly being like, yes, like, women's rights. They're just making like very light jokes about things like, oh, when you get divorced and then it turns out that your daughter yells at your husband for all the same things as you do.
Mhm.
And she'd be like, okay, here's why that's totally wrong and why you're an evil manipulator. And there's nothing wrong with having a past history of addiction. She's been sober for a long time. This is a woman who's covered with tattoos, piercings, all these things. Everything about her appearance would tell me like, oh, you're probably going to be extremely open-minded and Brandon did
Oh,
say
yeah, there's
yes.
this woman who there is a black woman on Instagram, and she's does videos of, "Are you white woman, are you MAGA presenting?" And she'll sometimes do things that are videos of, "Oh, when I see that, like, you wear matching baseball caps or you have little out" like, she'll say things that she feels like make you look MAGA presenting, and then she'll also do videos that she's like, "Oh, if I see this, I know that you're safe." She's like, "Oh, if you have a bunch of cool sleeve tattoos, I know that you're safe." Like, things like that,
That's
that
this
she's like,
person's
that's
totally
somebody who
tatted,
presents to
like,
me
neck
as, like, a
tattoos.
progressive ally kind of person, so I feel like that's very much the case here, that it's like, oh, somebody who presents as an ally.
Yeah, like, she has cheek piercings, neck tattoos, everything says that she, yeah, would be honest, but no, that is not the case.
I mean, that's what's kind of interesting about some of these alt-right ones is that some of this stuff seems full circle, like with the fringy type of stuff that people who just generally feel like they're on the alternative or outside of society, there are certain things that they have in common. And I wonder how much this is somebody who feels like the mainstream has not done her any favors. So you're just trying to find a voice on what you consider to be the outskirts of
That's
society.
I do wonder if she's had, like, bad experiences with women across the board and that women are
Hmm.
maybe more likely to have these beliefs, and so she's just hating on them in general. Yeah, so, Roma Army, you did teach me not to judge by appearance, so thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so jumping into mine. So I did make my fake Instagram profile and started with a couple of search terms in there, like biblical womanhood, mom hacks. Anyway, first it was a lot of silly mom hack kind of posts. A lot of homesteady things. I think I searched Proverbs 31 woman because that has come up for us before. It was kind of alarming. I've heard of journalists doing this sort of thing, of creating fake accounts and just seeing where their algorithm takes them. But it was kind of alarming how quickly it jumped to some other topics. And I was just liking things that seemed a little bit unhinged, like the making your own Cheez Its kind of posts, like wives honoring their husbands. But this led me to the free birther movement and MAGA posts and things about voter rights suppression that I had definitely not put in anything political, and it quickly led me to things like voter rights suppression against immigrants and things like that, or children of immigrants, that I was like, nothing on this, but it's pretty quickly that you get this kind of connection.
And then that just drives people's beliefs, and that's kind of the problem, and that's why
Yeah,
you should
exactly, of
just
like what
only
you get
have
sucked
just, like,
into.
fanfic drawings of Draco Malfoy on your
One, it's
Instagram.
so interesting to compare you having searched some of these topics in your Instagram account that already had a very well-established algorithm around Draco Malfoy fanfic, and then just starting completely from scratch around these things. I do want to give a shout out to Mrs. Alyssa Rhoda, who is the Touch Your Husband wife. And one of my favorite posts, it was one thing husbands wish wives did more. It's not blowjobs.
Just touch.
This is touch. Yeah, I was
Oh,
like,
my
girl,
baby
when
just
your
wants some touches.
husband says he wants to be touched more, he's specifically referring to his dick, your mouth on his dick.
Yeah, he probably does also want a blowjob.
Yeah. Although she was one of the people who was directly talking about sex, but it was all this basically one-sided kind of things. All of these posts, I felt like, had some kernel of something in them that I'm like, I understand why you are posting about this. And so, in the case of, people struggling in their marriages, feeling like their day to day routine has them alienated, I was like, that would be really great if you were just posting about. How it gives you some oxytocin to like have more touch. People should cuddle more. It's weird that like men are not more touchy feely with their friends. But it's just that it's this very one-sided gendered thing, and
You
that
wanna
was
watch men be more touchy-feely with each
I
other?
do. I love when I go to countries and it's just the thing in, like, Arab countries for male friends to hold hands and stuff like that, and I like listening to, a biography about a historical person. He's in the 20s and 30s and 40s in America, and the male friendships were kinda gay before the 50s and stuff, before we had this idea of traditional gender roles that was literally established, 70 years ago.
Hmm. I would just love to see my husband holding hands with another man walking down the block.
I wanna see them frolic more. I'm sad that so much of this advice seems such one-sided advice, and I'm like, "Yeah, couples should touch each other more. You should cuddle, give each other little hugs, kisses, and things like that," but it was just making me sad that it was very focused on the woman doing these things for her husband, and she was the same woman who said that, "I need to start packing whimsical lunches for my husband," so
Hmm. I don't know. I don't think my husband probably wants my lunches because I don't have a legacy as a good homemaker.
I don't either because my husband does most of the cooking, so I don't think that
Mhm.
he wants my lunches either. So anyway, it pretty quickly took me into some of these darker things. One of the first things that it took me into was the free birth movement. So I didn't actually start getting the Free Birth Society in my feed, but I got somebody who was a free birther who was posting, if possible, a little bit more fringy types of things, just because Emily Saldea, the founder of the free birth movement, had that Guardian expose piece on all the deaths that directly related. Do you know what the free birth movement is?
I was trying to figure out if I could type it in without creating too loud of a noise.
Oh, well, I feel like other people may have the same question. So, a free birth is where you give birth at home with no medical support whatsoever, and that includes a midwife. And, like, in the free birth movement, midwives are seen as like poisonous influence of the medical system. Like, any influence from the medical system is considered to be completely off limits. And in some people's minds, even to have plan B in place of going to the hospital is capitulating to the demands of the medical system.
It's just if there's even like a 1 in 100 chance that your baby would need that level of intervention and you turned it down because of this belief and your baby died, that'd be a really
So
hard thing to live with.
this Guardian piece did interview 18 mothers. It's hard for them to know exactly how many births or how many deaths or other kind of birth related trauma might have resulted, especially because a lot of the moms didn't come forward. But they were able to interview 18 mothers who experienced things like late term stillbirths, neonatal deaths, or other types of harm from this. And I would recommend like going and reading the article if you have the stomach for it because it is just so fascinating. When you think about, like, things like the indoctrination into a cult, because one of the moms that they were interviewing, who lost her child, and basically from how you hear it going down, you really wonder, you can't know for sure, that if she was in a hospital, it would have been pretty simple to have these kinds of life-saving interventions. Um and so she was like, nobody held a gun to my head to do this. And I fully willingly did it because I bought into this whole motherhood cult of everything that is natural is good. Your body can't create a baby that it's not able to give birth to. So it's just like so fascinating to read about
It's a
that.
beautiful idea on its surface. Like, to be clear,
Right.
I think that all of us, like, it resonates with us, this idea of having a baby that is just at home with nobody else involved and all that. Like, it's beautiful on the surface, but there's a reality about why they happen in hospitals.
Well, and,
And
like,
we haven't
what
our bodies here
the
have not
maternal
perfected it.
mortality rate used to be like. Somebody was posting, I think, the Fired But Fighting, which is, Instagram account that is folks who used to work for NIH and others, in the federal government and now do posts about the Trump administration. When the new Bridgerton season came out, they had a post about, like, how would it actually be, likely in the time of Bridgerton, like, in the Regency era, if you had given birth to 9 children or whatever, like, given the death rates of
Yeah,
children
you would
before
die
5,
or a baby would die.
probably yeah, it would be unlikely. It would be possible, but unlikely that the mother would have survived all of those births, although the dad somehow died by a bee sting. We'll get into that later when we have our Bridgerton episode. But the fact that, like,
So
every single
Shonda.
one of her children, survived, yeah, this is how you know it's just, like, a very fake shiny book and, like, nothing to do with the actual times. The likelihood of having 9 live births that all survive to adulthood is just unheard of. So a lot of these accounts are referencing this bygone time that was so magical and wonderful that never existed. Like, babies used to die so much, and mothers used to die so much. At the same time, I do understand where that idea comes from of being this like magical earth goddess sitting in a field. Some of them do go out into the woods, like literally go out into the woods to have their babies, or they have what's
Oh,
called a wild birth, which is where you literally have no prenatal care whatsoever. So, like, you go start into labor, you don't know how close you are to your actual due date, like the gestational age of the baby. You don't know if the baby is breech. It's like you just go into it completely blind, whatever. But I understand, like, having had friends who had some severe birth trauma and the medical system did not do right by them. I understand, and it's kind of like why women get into all this, like, goop Gwyneth Paltrow nonsense, right? Is because like, there are
it
some
does
real.
suck. It does suck.
Yeah,
It's
it's like
just
some
that
real hurt
but
there, and it's like
to your
this
life,
idea of, like,
yeah.
these women, like, claiming their independence, like, claiming their freedom from things that have harmed them, but then it is just, like, buying into another system that is just ripping you off in a different way and, like, in an even less regulated kind of way, because, like, all of these things, that's what I was finding over and over of, like, everything that I was finding on these social media pages is that some way, somehow, it was a money-making scheme. They're selling vitamin supplements. The home birth person that I came across, every single post is that she is just trying to sell you non-toxic cleaning products in what appears to be a multi-level marketing scheme. So it was
She
just.
at least own the marketing scheme?
No, she's
No.
definitely just a part of it.
Oh,
It just had, like,
honey.
total stank of MLM marketing scheme on it. Anyway, so it went from there into a lot of other anti-science types of things. My favorite, do you know what egg socks cure?
Do I wanna know what egg socks cure?
Do you know what egg socks are? I didn't know this either.
Are they socks for your
No,
eggs?
you dip socks, you, like, crack an egg and dip the socks in the eggs, and you put them on your feet or your child's feet, and they cure fevers, according to legend and this very non-scientific thing.
And this is in the year of 2026.
This was all very, yeah, like, blast from the past kind of thing of, like, you understand why the folk remedies might be something that attract people in a time before there is much else. And I actually read a really interesting, Lynn Smitherman et al. They did research on Black folk remedies, and kind of, like, which ones were effective, like, what some of them were, and how they are still active in Black communities. And they said that basically for physicians to be aware of the remedies, to educate families about the ones that may be harmful, because we do sometimes like the silver nitrate stuff that everybody's into and stuff.
Hey, but silver nitrate has healing properties. I mean, we use it in the hospitals.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, like, the things where people just, like, put that shit on everything or, like and yeah, like
Oh, yeah, yeah, specifically for wounds and
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly, that then they're like it's like the dad with Windex in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, where then it's like, "Oh, well, then you should just, like, drink" like, people are, like, drinking it and things like that to solve other kinds of issues. That not that as specifically as a Black folk remedy, but, like, awareness of folk remedies that people are using so that you can educate families about them. They're saying most are just, like, innocuous, they don't do anything really to help you, but they don't harm you, and in some cases, remedies may be blended with traditional medical treatments to ensure better patient compliance. And that's where I think, like, there are sometimes, like, some things in there that it's like, yeah,
It really
probably not
is
the egg
used in the
sauce,
hospital,
but,
but
like,
yeah.
there was one that
The
I came
egg
across that
salts
was,
are
like,
from nothing.
making some kind of thing with, like, fermented honey and garlic in it, which I'm like, "How do you ferment honey?" It's, like, literally well, I mean, I guess mead is fermented honey. I didn't really understand it, but it was just basically, like, garlic honey and to boost your immune system, and it's
Mm.
like taking a vitamin, like, it's not gonna hurt you, it's probably gonna help
It
you.
might be a little tasty.
A little boost, yeah,
Yeah.
I think the garlic honey could be good on certain kinds of things, but to think of that as, like, a replacement for, stuff that's actually backed by research but it's just really funny because I saw a lot of things that people were posting that were like, "Science here are, like, a bunch of things that science says is wrong." Hold on, let me find this one. Yeah, this was the free birther lady. She says, "Things I don't do in pregnancy because they aren't supported by science. Ultrasounds, prenatal vitamins, blood work, cervical exams, taking blood pressure, weight measurements, GBS test, GD test." Like,
Does she know what science is?
yeah. By science, do you mean that I don't like them? Or she had a post that was like, if a midwife thinks that she can stick her hands up your vagina, then you should get to stick your hands up her vagina as well. And I'm like, that
I don't want that, but I don't mind it when they do.
that sounds like a really good setup for a sapphic romance novel. Go on.
Oh my gosh, yeah, keep your sexual urges to yourself, ma'am.
I know. I'm like, "Hey, look, if you wanna fist the midwife in your spare time, you do that." But, yeah.
Consensual.
Consensual fisting only, please. My main takeaway from them is I realized, like, a lot of the stuff, like, even the homeschooling thing, there were a few homeschooling posts that I came across that were community-based homeschooling, and I'm not gonna, like, drag all homeschoolers because I have known some people who have chosen homeschool, as the best alternative for some certain
There is
situations.
also specific parts of the country where,
Yeah.
like, if you're in a rural area, homeschooling, especially community homeschooling, it's almost more like they've created their own school system that is more
Yeah, to
convenient and suits
fill
their
gaps in,
values.
like, what I would agree now nationwide is, like, kind of a struggling system. But, like, for the most part, a lot of this, like, homesteading, trad wife, homeschooling kind of things that I saw, I was taken aback by how much it was so focused on a single nuclear and that it was, like, basically, somebody's entire existence would be for the sustenance of their 6 kids and husband, and there was no talk about kind of the community, and as much as it harkens back to some kind of good old days when men were men and women were women, if you wanna harken back to those good old days and ignore all of these things about how, like, yeah, women used to die in childbirth all the time, like, it was just, like, dirty and there was a lot of disease, then, I mean, at least if you wanna be realistic about something, it was that they were, like, in an incredibly communal space that, like, children were raised, by the community, and
Yes.
that's, like, the one thing that they're missing.
Yeah, speak more about the community and, like, the beautiful parts of it, not just this idea that, like, I am stay at home. Because I mean, like, in Mennonite communities, for example, there
Mhm.
is a woman who takes on the teacher role, and, like, all the
Mhm.
kids go to that teacher role. It is not that every single wife is individually staying at home and only teaching their 1 or 2 children.
Yeah, and for people who claim to love capitalism, in a lot of their cases, not all of them, I feel like, the specialization of labor is supposed to be built in to that, and, I mean, I guess that's kind of the issue with, like, some of these things. There so many homeschool posts, and I remember reading one that was just riddled with grammatical errors, and it's like, there should be some kind of baseline of somebody else checking. Some women are totally credentialed and prepared to be homeschooling their children more so than maybe what the options are around them. But then for every one of them, I feel like there are a bunch of people who are like, I just hate the system and need and hate other people and like exposing my kids to other people's beliefs. And we are sort of this like family apart, city on a hill, just this sort of like self centered thing that nobody could be better at doing these things for your kid than you can.
No, that is
Um,
not my legacy.
yeah, and one of the little, like, meme kind of posts that were on a little painting said, "She realized she was replaceable in every area of life except her home, so she invested her time, her energy, and her heart wisely." And I'm like, "Yo, I think there are a lot of things in my home that I am extremely replaceable at." Like, cleaning my house, very replaceable at that. Cooking, turns out my spouse is better
Highly
at it.
irreplaceable.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess there's also just this, like, concept that a lot of them seem to be pushing on there that's, like, either you're, like, working at the type of job where you, like, absolutely never see your kids and you're just shuffling them between childcare options, which there are parents who are in that situation, and almost none of them are there because they chose that, you know? But for those of us who have some amount of choice, I think that there are other kinds of flexible career options, and we do see our kids. And I also have a lot of respect for the people who are helping me raise my kids.
Whom? So, as we come to the end of our episode, I'll close up on some few things from last episode. I ended up reading all Liz Tomford Windy City series books, and it is so delightful. They're all just fun, easygoing love stories with various athletic teams based off of Chicago's main teams, the Cubs, the Blackhawks, and the Bulls. And
Are
it
they
was
allowed to
lovely.
use the team names, or is it like
They
huge
use different
rivalry
names
where
for
it's like the
everything.
Boston Raiders?
They used different names, but they kept the colors, and they were just delightful and smiley and sexy. And then I read a Mariana Zapata book, and it was not as fun and a lot more serious, but I still kind of liked it until the main description for the penis was long. And I feel like,
Oh,
why does long
oh.
have such a different connotation than big? Like, I was like, I don't want a long penis.
I'm just picturing them later, like, laying side by side in bed, and then,
And the
like, his
penis is like
long
to the
penis
knee.
just drifts across the bed
Yeah.
and starts, like, reaching out and
Yeah.
stroking her leg.
Like, finally, she also added thick, and I was like, well, long just makes me think,
Why not just say
oh,
large?
yeah, large, big, you
She could
know?
barely wrap her hands around this.
Yeah.
Come on, we've been here before.
It was written 10 years ago, and I think that she just hadn't learned the most up-to-date language, and then she was like, "It was purple, pink, and fascinating looking." I was like, "What is even?"
Ooh, and this sounds more like it's the, jellyfish inanimate object
Yeah.
romance that I read. That sounds like the description of the jellyfish.
Yes. So, yes, that is my follow-up from the last episode is, don't describe penises as long, and maybe you don't even have to describe the color. Like, I don't need to know that a
Yeah,
penis is purple and pink. Doesn't
yeah.
really help me.
Also, yeah.
They also said something about, like, the pubic hair and then getting, like, her wetness on it and being, like, damp pubic hair, and I was like, "I don't
There is
mind that
such a
it's
thing as
there, but,
being
like."
too descriptive. I don't need to hear descriptions of anybody's pubic hair unless it's the hard-boiled egg because the pubic hair is dill
Yeah, oh
flavored.
my gosh. Unless it's an inanimate objects,
Then I am
sentient
interested to
object
know what kind of
business.
herbs it's flavored with.
Yeah, then I will accept it because it's hilarious, but in this case, I was like, "Hmm, like, Mariana Zapata, I appreciate you, but I don't think that you and I are meant for each other." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I am still on Alchemized, but it is getting
Man,
really good. It's
yeah.
like I'm like 24 hours into this book. It is really long, although I appreciate making one long book rather than a trilogy, especially for the people who are the readers while it's reading and you like read a whole installment of a book and then you're like, cool, I have to wait at least a year for the next installment to come out. So I like a one and done book, even if it's long.
I wish that I had downloaded Manacled before she took it down because now it is considered pirating if I go and find a copy and send it to you, but I wish
Yeah.
I wish
I
I
am
could because it is
curious about
one.
the differences now, but I am like, "Oh, it does get good," and then you, like, do figure out because the whole time I was reading that first part, I'm like, "How can we come up with, like, anything that would
Be
make
his
this guy" oh, yeah, like
redemption.
yeah, any kind of redeeming qualities about him, and then even when you get into the second part of the book and it's the flashback, in the beginning, you're like, "Ugh, this guy is, like, so awful," but, not that I think that I ever find myself falling for Farron Kane, but I get their relationship in a lot of in the way that I don't get a lot of relationships in other kinds of darker romance. Like I get her and her relationship with them and I like Helena as a character. So now I'm going very fast through it. I'm in the third part where then it like flashes back to the present. So I will be finished by next week and I do thank you for recommending this book to me.
Woohoo. Wonderful. Well, I hope everybody has a good week and thank you for listening as always.